in the one-room schoolhouse. And these are desks that they used years ago in a one-room schoolhouse. And we tried to put some small artifacts such as the inkwells, the books, the counters. Those little things are number counters, and they learn, especially the first graders, learn how to count with those. And we have the blackboard, books, like a little library for them, and things that they would use in a one-room school. In fact, down in the Amish country, they still have one-room schools and use a lot of these things that I have here. And they were all donated, and again, I felt I had to make a one-room schoolhouse so the children would know what it looked like and what things they use in a one-room school, different than what they use in city schools. And so that's why this was set up as a one-room school. And you'd be surprised how many children want to go in and sit at a desk that come here to view the museum. I guess they just want to know how the desks feel or how the seats feel. So we let them sit down, and because they don't stay long, you know. I mean, they sit down, they're up, and they're going again. But that's what this is supposed to represent, is a one-room school. Well, I think they survived because they had good teachers. And the teachers would, if a one-room school usually has 6 grades, or some of them have 8 grades. And they're sort of segregated. Your first grades sort of sit together, and then the teacher will have a certain time during the day that she will give those children special attention. And lots of times they will learn from maybe a 3rd or 4th grader, the first graders, or the higher ups. And it works out very well. My mother was a one-room school teacher in 2 different schools. And from what I hear, the children, they liked it because they learned from each other. Where in your schools today, all your sort of segregated. All your first graders are in one room and so forth. And but children coming out of one-room schools seem to have done very well, if they have the attitude they want to learn, you know. But this way, by sort of segregating the different rooms, the different items, they have a way to learn what it was like years ago. And but I'm sure there's children that don't want to go to a one-room schoolhouse. Well, the holes on the desks are for inkwells. There's little, some of them are ceramic, some of them are metal, that fit down in that hole to hold so the bottles or the little inkwell doesn't tip over and get ink all over everything. But that's what the holes are for. The children may use them for pencils or something else, but that's what they're for. And they usually have a little shelf underneath the top where they can slide their books in, papers, pencils, whatever they have. Usually the school would start 8, 9 o'clock in the morning, and it really depended on how far the children had to walk, because years and years ago there were no school buses. Now we do have an old wooden school bus here, and that the children rode in. But they sort of had to be in an area because the horses, to pull that bus, they didn't want to go a long ways. But at one time there were wooden school buses pulled by horses, and we have one here. And if they started at 8, 9 o'clock in the morning, which usually was around 9 o'clock, then they would go till, say, 3 in the afternoon. And they'd all bring their lunches, and we have some lunch pails over there. And the children would put their lunch pails on a shelf, and then at noontime, they would go pick up their own lunch pail. And a lot of them were different, so they knew who it belonged to. Well, now in this day and age, the Amish are the only ones that use one-room schools. And they usually start the last of July, 1st of August, and then they are out early because they have to help on the farm to plow, put their crops in. And so their school year isn't as long as the city school year because the children have to help. And that's another reason they only go to the 6th or 8th grade, because the boys, when they get up to 8th grade age, they have to work on the farm. And it takes a lot longer to farm with horses than it does with tractors in this day and age. So but again, they can get on the fields with horses earlier than you can with tractors nowadays.